theme song for the Gear Podcast. Leon, how you going, buddy?
Pretty good, mate. How are you? You're getting a bit of your Draymond on. You've been in a disturbed kind of mood, are you?
Oh, I can't do that sound. I'm not going to do the wah thing. It's too hard. I told you about the guys that come to the Balmoral, and whenever we're playing anything, they're like, oi, 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 oh, wah, ah, ah. Just do it. And I do it in Blister.
They just love it.
Yeah, it's funny. It's good. Leon, how you going, man? What's been happening?
Oh, not too much, mate. Had a pretty good weekend. Got a lot of sun. Went snorkeling. It was sick.
Nice.
Because that's what you do in Australia in the summer. What about you, mate? You've been busy.
It's been a week, man. It's only Wednesday, but it's been a very busy week. What was it? Wednesday midday. I've got a bunch of songs to do. I probably should do some mastering this afternoon. Actually, that'll be fun. Session all day tomorrow. Sessions all day Friday. 4 gigs this weekend, and then do it all next week again. It's good. I meant to ask you actually before we start. Do you lick it a day?
Mate, do you lick a dick a day? Ladies and gentlemen, let us know if you lick a dick a day. This is the Gear Podcast. We're in season 2 as well.
Yeah, season
I think the arc
2024.
has to be that we eventually kill ourselves off, but then when there's a massive viewer backlash, we'll miraculously come back from the dead like any good soap opera.
Yeah, I like the sound of that. Speaking of the next season, I just today for the first time watched my first Kane Corns AFL video of the year.
Oh.
Him and Phil Davis talking about just general things. So that was fun.
Now, how do you feel about them not being able to list AFL player weights? Is this an unnecessary distraction, or is it wokeism gone mad?
Who cares? Does it really matter? Like, is it like mountains out of molehills? Just get over it.
Oh, it's definitely mountains out of molehills. But I will say, I always look forward to, you just like watching something and, Paddy Cripps is dominating in the midfield, and you're just imagining yourself out there on the field, and you're watching the little players run around on the TV, and you're like, they're not that big. But then you look up Paddy Cripps' stats, and you realize he's like 95 kilograms and 6'4", and you're like, yeah, this guy would like crush me with his, pinky finger. He's a pretty big dude.
He's a big man, Paddy Cripps.
But yeah,
so
Kane Corns is, if
care.
he was a guitar YouTuber, he'd have problems with everything.
Yeah.
Who would he be if he was a guitar YouTuber?
Glenn Fricker?
Yeah, actually, probably right. I think old Kano probably would get better stats in the midfield.
Yeah.
Did he? He's a 300 gamer, all-Australian.
Tagger, right?
He played in that 2007 Geelong Port Grand Final.
Did he play in the 2004
all-time
winning Grand Final when they beat Brisbane?
I don't think so.
Anyway.
Anyway, we're not here to talk about Kane Corns. We're here to talk about gear, and it's starting to rain little slabs of gear, isn't it? There's a bunch of companies doing their kind of NAM time. It's funny how it's gone from a trade show to just the time of year you announce stuff.
I'm really excited. I keep checking Gearspace for the new product alerts thing because I'm just waiting for some stuff to get announced. We should, before we talk about that, have you had any gear acquisitions there, Uncle Leon, in the last week? Anything exciting?
Oh, maybe. If people watch my studio tour, they would have noticed a few things, namely a PRS CE24 from 1993,
Bloody ripper.
which I currently don't have here. I went and dropped it off to Tim, so it's getting a refret. He scanned it and was like, yeah, it looks like it basically hasn't been played from the 5th fret. Like,
wow.
The frets were bashed way down, and then they were kind of mostly pristine from the way up. So, yeah, I've got that over there. So
that's
I've
funny
got
because... Yeah, go on.
I've got a gig on the 28th on Rottnest, so I'm hoping to have it back by then, and then, I can blood it in the heat of battle amongst some small marsupials.
Well, I believe in the last 2 podcasts, perhaps you'd made a point of saying, I haven't bought anything yet this year. And then the next day, hey, check this out. Look what I bought. So I thought that was really funny.
Yeah, I lasted 10 days.
But then
So it was last
But that's
Wednesday.
been on the list, man. It's important to go through the list more than anything else, I have a
We've
list.
talked about it.
We've talked about it. You did it, and it's done. But
And
yeah,
of all places, cash converters.
yeah. Did you go in there knowing the guitar was there, or did you just happen to hop in and check it out?
So what happened was Elspeth had work, and she works a half day on Wednesdays in the afternoon. And basically, a friend of hers had tickets to see the premiere for the new Mean Girls movie. And last minute was like, hey, my date bailed. Do you want to come with me? We'll go and see it. It was her friend's birthday. So the two of them were going to go have a girls' night, all good. And the only thing was, it was like in that small window where she didn't have time to come home and change. So I was like, look, I'll drop you at work. I've got, what am I going to be doing on a Wednesday afternoon? I just kind of sit around here and twiddle my thumbs and recline on my chair, which is the sponsor of today's video, from Valencia Theatre Seating. We'll put a little ad insert somewhere. But yeah, I've just been kind of doing that and, playing some retro video games. But so dropped her off at work. It's near Joondalup. I'm like, I'm going to pop into the coffee place, buy some beans. And I was driving out and I'm like, maybe Cashies is right there. I'll just pop in.
You have to go.
And I had that like split second. I don't need to. And I was like, sometimes they have deals. Walked in. Immediately I was like, there's a PRS there. It's black, double cut, 24 frets, come up to it, CE24. I was like, well, I have to try this thing. And they had it listed for a lot more than I paid for it in the end. So, because it's the last frontier, cash converters. You just never pay ticket price. They always overprice it because they know people like us go in and, you like the little back and forth of a little bit of a haggle.
Yep.
Could you do this? Could you do that? And then if they say yes straight away, you feel like you should have lowballed them more.
Man, it's like when I got that 5150 script, 2 years ago now, listed for $950, and I offered them $700, and they were like, they had to go away and check with the manager, and then she comes back and she's like, oh look, the lowest we can do is $720. And I thought, okay, you got me.
Okay.
So here you go. And then I was actually talking to a guy a week after that who works at, he was basically just said, look, you can get some deals. I'll just say that.
Yeah. Yeah.
But so when you got this guitar, like, tell me, was it good? Like, you're getting it refretted and stuff, but how did it feel to play? Was it good? Was it outside of the look and feel of it?
It looked a bit beaten up. Mm-hmm. And then when they pulled it out of the cabinet, looking up close, I was like, actually the finish on this is really, it didn't really look like it had been gigged that much. Mm-hmm. So it's a 1993, so it's 31 years old this year.
Yep.
It's the old style short neck tenon. I was just kind of looking at it and I was like, it looks like the fingerboard had never been oiled. So it looked like a bit of a park bench.
I know the exact feel you're talking about.
Yeah, and the strings were really old on it and the action was really, really high and the neck relief was a bit out. So it was a bit neglected. But sort of like feeling it, I was like, everything seems in pretty good nick. Tried the electronics. There was no scratchy pots or anything, which I was happy about. It just needed a setup. Mm-hmm. And it's got the old winged tuners on there, which...
I don't know if I've seen them.
Like, do you remember Luke's Custom 22?
Yeah.
Had the different tuners. Yeah. So it's like the old style tuners on there, which I don't love, but they work. So yeah, I got it home and like immediately ripped the strings off, like oiled the fingerboard and it looked great. I gave it a very, very quick and dirty setup and it was playing and like it intoned really, really well. Mm-hmm. It sounds really good. Like it does have that kind of snappier, tighter thing going on.
What pickups
it's got
are in
the
that?
5-way and I think a vintage bass and an HFS.
Oh yeah,
I like
they
those
sort of
pickups, suit that guitar.
They're good pickups.
Yeah, they're good. It's a bit. It's just kind of like a bit leaner than the Custom 24s I've got. So yeah, it's
tonally, you mean like
good sounding guitar.
Not as like chunk.
Yeah, it's like it can get pretty chunky. It's just in a sort of like different. I don't know. It's like it's more super strat.
Yep.
Than the other guitars, which lean a bit more kind of like Les Paul-y. But yeah, it's good. Hopefully have it back soon with new frets on it. And I'll if people watch my studio tour, they would have heard it very, very briefly. It's a good guitar.
I haven't watched the studio tour. I saw it pop up, but I didn't watch it yet. So I'll get there, mate.
Why would you, mate? Why would you?
Why not?
What about you? You've had your eyes on something kind of spicy that you've also been talking about on the podcast. A type of guitar.
Do you mean something like this, Uncle Leon?
He's got it.
I got it. I didn't
He's
tell
got
you.
it in his hands.
I thought I could just surprise.
When did you pick it up?
This morning. So
that's awesome, man.
this is there we go. That's about as centralized as I can get.
Tell us all about it.
Well, I just knocked the stand over that it was on, and that was very embarrassing. In my haste, I wanted to pick the guitar. I wanted to not lean over so as to give away the surprise, but I'll pop it back on the thing. Well, there you go. It doesn't need to be anything more said. Well, I haven't said to the people listening. It is a 2011 Gibson Explorer white with black pickups in it. and I believe I spoke about the guitar that was at a music shop here, but like 2 weeks ago. I went and tried one, and
Yeah, you tried what, a newer purple one?
no, it was like the exact same looking guitar. So that's a 68 reissue, the one as in the one I bought. The other one I believe was like a 70s, or I think it was a 70s reissue, or maybe an 80s. It was one of the two. I actually can't remember now. But literally looked identical. But I didn't like the way that the other one felt. Like I picked it up and I had a strum, and it just felt like the action was a little. It felt like the best way I can describe it. It feels like the nut was too high. So Tim, who listens to the show, he knows. Like he would have probably chucked it on the machine, told me immediately, we'll chuck a new nut on it and do some stuff.
He knows, and he's taught us the ways of what to look out for, you know?
Yeah, that's something that I feel really quickly, though. It's like the Hagstrom, Jay's Hagstrom, which is back there, the Ghost signature. It's the same sort of deal. Like, it's a cool guitar, but they felt very similar in that regard, where I think it's just that would make it a little bit more playable for me and what I like.
Yeah. But it's funny, though. Hey, once you have a guitar where you're like, oh, there's something not right about it, and you get it plecked or something, and you see the scans, and it's like, hey, this is, the nut's too high, and you're like, oh, cool. So this is what it feels like when the nut's too high, and you kind of internalize that feel, and any other guitar you play after then, you're sort of looking out for it.
So anyway, that guitar I didn't like, and it was more expensive, and it just it wasn't like, for me, playing it at that time wasn't over $4,000 worth my time and energy.
Yeah.
But it looked awesome. So anyway, this one came up on Facebook for $2.5, and the guy was around the corner in Morley. So hit him up, and I went and played it on Monday, and literally grabbed it out. It's basically new. It has
that's awesome.
It has
man.
a chip here, which is probably, I can't really get it in, but you can sort of see it on the camera there. That's the only little ding in it. But he just said he didn't really play it very much, and it's been in the case, and it basically looks brand new. He had it set up at the Rock Inn like maybe 2 weeks ago, and and it feels really good to play. So it's funny. Like, I played it. I basically grabbed the neck and I played a chord. I'm like, well, that feels right, and I sort of knew from that moment that it was going to be, kind of what I wanted. When I brought it back today and had a little strum on it, I don't find Explorers comfortable, like immediately comfortable, and I'm sort of working out how to play it. If I need to stand to play it, if I need to sit or have the strap at a certain height, it's just a little bit of a learning curve for me, because strats and tellies and stuff, man, because I have the worst posture when I play. I'm just like reclining, foot's up on the desk. It doesn't really matter. With this thing, I got to treat it with a little bit of respect, which is funny considering it's shaped like a fucking lightning bolt. I immediately put a long strap on it and chucked it all the way down, and that felt pretty comfortable. Sitting and playing with it, I put a different strap on with a much higher, to see if that was comfortable, and that's sort of all right. But as we were talking about the other week, man, I'm not a sit between the legs type of guy. I'm a sit over here. So it's my elbows kind of up in the air on the side of the body to play like that. So it is a bit of an adjustment, but I'll get there. It sounds great though. I'm not sure what pickups it's got in it. I couldn't see it documented. And just looking up the guitar I didn't really find a direct version online.
Interesting.
But I'm really happy, and that'll be probably the one I play at the stadium.
I was going to say, when's the first Dockers gig?
Well, I mean, they haven't actually confirmed it yet, so hopefully it does get confirmed, and then at least I can not be thinking that I just dropped a bunch of money on a guitar or won't play. But the only thing I thought with this guitar is, I was in the shower this morning knowing I was going to go pick it up. I was like, the pickups, they sounded good when I tried it on Monday, and they sound good today, but if I want to swap them out, I wonder what I put in there. And I remembered my Ibanez Les Paul that I've had since I was I've had it for over 20 years now. I've had a lot of different pickups in it, and I never play it. Currently, it has a set of red Duncan, like a JB Jazz set, which would be a perfect fit. Like, just drop them straight in. It's the right width and stuff. So, I might play these for a little while, and then I might be the guy with a white Explorer and red pickups, and that'd be cool,
Try it out.
Just good.
Try it out,
man.
Exactly.
As long as it looks cool.
Man. Like, they're the ultimate stage guitar. They look sick, and that era my old man has one from 2010, 2011,
Yep.
and they sound chunk.
Yeah,
They're
well,
really, really good.
It's probably the same. What does that one look like? I can't remember.
It's just natural mahogany.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, you
Yeah,
mentioned
so
last week,
it's a pretty cool. And I know Ryan has a Black Explorer as well from his earlier, obviously, but yeah, he's had that for a little while. So yeah, man, congrats.
Thank you.
Welcome to the Lightning Bolt Guitar Club.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because I guess in my brain, I'm like, well, I'll buy one guitar a year, which is probably still too much, but and that's why I have so many. I didn't think I'd buy a guitar this early into the year, but it's odd to me that the last two guitars that I've procured have been both Gibsons. I never thought in my life I'd have enough money to buy an actual Gibson guitar. So now I have three of them.
How many do you have now?
Three.
You got three.
The 97 Les Paul, the 90, I think it's a 94 335, and then this 2011.
Which provides the perfect segue to talk about some new things, Troy.
Mm-hmm.
And anyone watching the podcast can see Gibson have just announced 2 new amps.
Ooh.
So the Falcon over here. And I know nothing about them except they kind of look cool.
Yeah.
Like, what do they have? There's a 1x12 combo with a Jensen speaker in it. What's going on here?
There's a 20 watt, a 50 watt, I think. Is that right?
Yeah. So that's the 1x12 combo. And if we come over here, I mean, they're not ridiculously priced either. And I assume they're made by Boogie. What is happening here? We're just onto guitars.
Yeah, geez.
This isn't what I want at all. Let's just look at the 20 watt amp anyway. So it looks like something out of the 50s.
1800 US or Australian? Yeah, it's US. You're on the US website,
Yeah,
right?
must be US. Yeah. Yeah, it must
it's not
be.
cheap,
So
but
what do we have? Yeah, man. I mean, what's a kind of comparable 1x12 20 watt Boogie cost?
ooh, well, Australian
Probably similar amounts.
3.5. Surely it'd be 3.5. So yeah, it's probably about the same. So what has this guy got? Selectable full, half, low, multi-watt power modes. So down
very
to 5. So 12, 5, or 1 watts of power. Voicing style. So single channel with 2 inputs, normal channel, cleaned overdrive speaker. So yeah, Jensen speaker. So it looks just like a little. What power?
Is this a deluxe reverb?
I guess so. It looks like it's probably a deluxe reverb with a few switches that give you a bit of extra vibe. But I did read something too that mentioned the Falcon was like a. Let me see if I can find it. I think the Falcon was actually a 60s amp that they made.
Ah, interesting.
So it might actually be a reissue sort of a job. Let me just.
Yeah, it looks pretty cool. I immediately don't love that the foot switch jack is next to the inputs.
Oh, yeah.
I can just see if I was playing this, I'd plug my guitar into the foot switch jack and be like, why is there no sound?
Let me just. I was incorrect. They have the Falcon 5 and the Falcon 20, so it's a 5 watt and a 20 watt. Scrapped a little inspired visions by Gibson amplifiers and reimagined for today's players. Focusing great sound simplicity, pays homage to the 60s Falcons, the very first guitar amplifiers available with reverb. So I didn't know that. That's interesting.
Yeah.
So no, you're probably right. Like just made by Boogie, and well, you presume so.
Pretty sure it kind of says it here. Yeah. So
Randall
it's I mean, isn't it funny that Randall Smith gets a start modifying Fenders, and here he is, in his kind of retirement making amps for Gibson.
Yep.
Although he's not making them, he's probably just designing them. But it's Class A, which is interesting, and it's running 6V6s. Just a single tone control on there. So yeah, that'll be interesting. I haven't heard any clips just yet. I've seen them pop up, but be interesting to see what else, if Gibson are just going to kind of use this to reissue some of their old designs. Because they did, I think Trace Elliott were building Gibson branded amps in the 90s.
Okay.
Yeah, I tried one of them. A family friend has one. I'm pretty sure I've got a video up on the channel. Really nice, sweet sounding clean amp. Like just, and one of those kind of things where I'm like, oh yeah, you could, if you were a jazz player, you could use this.
They're a funny brand, man. Like, do you remember there used to be that Tracy Elliott bass head at Crank? Like,
yeah,
it was a massive
and I'm pretty
beast.
sure Ryan's got a Trace Elliott combo.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, so I don't really think of them as guitar amps so much. Like, if they are, obviously, but they're sort of a weird company like that. Do they have an acoustic or a bass guitar like pedal preamp thing? I think they've got one of those that I've seen recently.
I think so. Yeah.
Are they Canadian?
Now,
or maybe they're not.
Well, good question. I don't think so, But also, what do I know? Now, Troy, I really have to ask your opinion on this because this is the current guitar meme of the moment. Just give me a simple yay or nay to this. Would you rock this? Are you aware of this?
No, I don't think I am. Probably
So it's the
nay.
Machine Gun Kelly, his new Schecter signature guitar,
okay.
and it's a razor blade shaped body.
Oh, it's a razor blade. Okay, I couldn't.
Did you
really
just
pick
go
that.
from hating it to loving it?
No, I just thought, like, is it a cheese grater? What is he doing there? The black parts. What a shame. What a downfall. Like, I do not care either way about Machine Gun Kelly. I went through, not a phase, but there was a band I worked with that I wanted a reference for like modern pop punk stuff, and I brought his music up, and it was, it sounded a certain way that I kind of liked. So I'm trying to be a bit hesitant. Don't love him, don't hate him, don't anything him. But what I do love,
Blink-182 cosplay.
man, what I love is that pink Schecter that he had. I think it was a Telly.
Yeah.
And that was his signature model. And that thing was amazing. And I thought, like, that's almost my perfect gaudy guitar. But I just felt a little bit funny that it was a Machine Gun Kelly signature and it would probably cost like $2,000 Australian to buy it. It's the sort of thing.
I mean, look at this. This is $1,500 US. So, like,
that's
are you going to spend 2,000 Australian dollars on a Schecter that looks like a razor blade?
How sharp do you think the bottom of that guitar is? Like, if you put that on your leg, would you cut it off?
Yeah.
It's another stand-only guitar.
Bro, can you use it to chop up your Coke? Does that work? I mean, oh man, like, I was looking the other day at, because Schecter basically, it seems like if you've got any sort of profile and you want to start a guitar company, you just like commission Schecter to do it. Like the Wild Audio, the Zach Wild signature guitars, like they're made by Schecter.
Oh, okay.
And they've got like a billion signature models.
He have a whole signature
I think
range
so,
of
yeah.
something, or maybe that's the signature amp thing, or I don't know.
Yeah, the Nick Johnston model is great. Like, it's one of the best guitars you can buy for the money. It's just a Strat,
Right.
but it's a very good one. It kind of feels like a Sir, but you're not paying Sir money for it. Tim had one in years ago, kind of when I first met him, and I was playing, I was like, this is very, very good.
They're a fun
Like,
brand, man. Like, I
man.
don't have good memories of them from about 10, 15 years ago. A lot of those guitars that came out, looks aside, because they have that real, like, of the time, gaudiness, like ultra flames, and the binding all looks kind of extra flashy and stuff, but then the guitars never like intonated properly, never stayed in tune.
Yeah, I was super not into them, but playing that Johnson one, and some of the more just like traditional soul things they do, they're pretty good. Like, they're doing some good stuff. Tom Anderson worked for Schecter way back.
Was that in the 90s?
Ingve had a signature Schecter for like 2 minutes.
Oh, right. Yeah, well,
before the Fender thing.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
Because was Anderson there? Was it late 80s, early 90s, something like that, or later than that?
I think so. Yeah.
Because you can still
he
see
kind of
those,
got his start there.
You can still find those guitars around, like the ones they just look like Strat clones, sort of. So it's the guitars that would have been priced like $700 to $800 Australian.
Yeah.
That I just have a bit of a bad taste in my mouth. I've never really wanted to try them, but maybe they're fine. I don't know if you can really make a bad guitar these days, man. Like, let's be honest, it's all CNC stuff. It's like, as we've probably discussed, as long as the wood's all right, like, how hard can it be?
Yeah, I mean, you can definitely, there's just like a level of plasticiness to some stuff still that you're playing. You're like,
Yep.
Now, we'll pivot, and I'll just say straight up, I've seen people getting upset about this. When Ibanez announce new guitars every year,
Oh, yeah.
there are proper Ibanez fans. I like the RG550 and everything else can get in the bin, basically. Like, I'm not that into what they do, but I get that people love it, and I don't want to yuck anyone's yum. And I saw some people pretty disappointed by the new Ibanez stuff. So,
All right.
like,
'em up.
what do you reckon? So the all-new Ibanez AZ Premium 2024 models. Look, that series of guitars, I think I've played some really nice ones.
Which one's the premium series? Is that the like lower series or the higher series? Because they're all confusing now.
Yeah, man. And this is the thing, like Ibanez, it's the alphabet soup guitar name thing. Like, they never have a cool name. Like, at least Schecter will have like a cool name for a guitar,
The Omen.
Yeah, the Omen. That's a great name for a metal guitar, you know?
All right.
Whereas Ibanez is just alphabet soup 620Q, and you don't know what it is. Yeah, like, they're always in like $50 increments where you're like, well, okay. But, you know, the specs are always good.
I don't think I would play that guitar, but I don't hate it. I don't have a problem with it. And same as you, I love an RG basically, and the AZs that I played years ago felt amazing. They were like, that's almost my perfect guitar. Like looking at this, the blue one that's there at the moment.
That I'm way more into. Like that aesthetic, cool. This is corn dog to me.
Yeah,
like,
it's a little weird. So what is that green? Like, does it even say that? Oh, deep ocean blonde. I'm just not presumably that flame
guy,
top is like a what do they call it? The photo finish or the where it's like not really
photo flame or something.
Yeah, it doesn't look real. Maybe it is, but you know.
But this is cool.
Yeah, like just a normal guitar. Yeah, and the
black headstock with the blues a bit. It's like
I prefer a matching headstock, but maybe that costs more money. I don't know. These are all bolt-on necks, right?
I believe
so. Are they 24s?
So,
yeah. Are they all of them 24s? Just scroll up again.
Looks like it. 24, and this one looks like a 22.
Yeah. So for me, a 22 of the blue one would be kind of cool. Oh man, who am I to like really rip on these guitars? I don't really like pickup covers on a Strat style guitar. I think they look odd. I think that's something you say for Les Pauls.
This is our guitar festivus, isn't it? The airing of grievances for things that don't involve us.
But then I look at that one right there.
We're just going Kane Corns on it, aren't we? We're like, here's something that doesn't affect my life in any way, but I want to complain about it.
Yeah, it's perfect. This is why we have a podcast. Like that guitar, if that was in the plain blue finish, I'd probably be more into it. But again,
Hey, and to be fair, the more Normcore 7 strings, the better, in my opinion, because it was really hard to find a 7 that didn't look like, you know, a 50s spaceship when I was trying to find something. So like these AZs, looks like a guitar.
Yeah.
I'm cool with it.
You know what it is? Like that sort of finish. This is yucking somebody's yum, so apologies.
Yeah.
Don't mean offense. It's just like, I might have told this story when I was in when I was in high school. I was quite young. I went and bought myself a new guitar strap, and I found a strap and it had a spider on it. And so when you're playing the guitar, the spider's right here. And I remember even as a teenager thinking like, yeah, this is something a 10-year-old would think. But at 15, I'm like, yeah, I'm going to have this strap and it's got a spider on it and it's going to look like I've got a spider on me and that's going to look really cool. It's just so dumb. And that's the same aesthetic as some of those guitars. It's like, you remember that one I sent you last week that you laughed about? The Metalcore starter pack thing? And you were like,
Yep.
Similar sort of thing where it's just like, it's just a little bit too overly nice, but also like that lasts to the 7 where it's like that really deep blue. It's like, we want to have a flame top, but because we're going to play like 7-string dark music, we have to make it seem like it's really deep and like not shallow water. This is like dark and there might be a monster jumping out of it. That's what I think when I look at that guitar. So anyway, that's just me, man. I don't know. If you like it, that's cool.
Yeah.
I also
like whatever you want. You know, that's the whole beauty about the gear ecosystem at the moment, right?
Yeah.
It's like, and most companies are making most things.
Let me also say, and I'm going to say this as someone that doesn't own like 6,000 Paul Reed Smith guitars, but some of those PRS ones, man, they're just too fancy looking. Just fucking relax, Paul. Why don't you make
I'm with you, man. Just give me like, you know, they actually announced some new colors for the Silver Sky today, and I was like, they're both really good. Let me bring it up because I was like, I know how much you love John Mayer.
Oh, mate,
you know,
John and I.
He's your man.
He's my favorite guitar player. The session I did,
you know, you just heard him for the first time when you went to Whopper and it changed your life. And
all right, do you want? Can I tell you? Let me tell you something. Let me go. I don't want to go on a huge rant, but I've got a theory, right? You know, all right. Here's what.
Go nuts.
Not a theory, but let me just say what I like when I listen to music, right? You know, people walk around and they talk, oh, that's such a great tune. You know, people love to say how they love a great tune. Let me tell you something,
I
Leon.
just heard this tune and it was such a sick tune.
I don't like tunes, Leon. I like songs, and there's a difference.
Yep.
To me, a tune is something that you hum and then you play it, and other people kind of just like play around the tune. And a song is something that's like composed and considered and has some sort of message and meaning to it. And
so this is why you hate jazz. Because it's like, yeah, let's just play the tune and then let's improvise for 45 minutes.
And if you like
and by the way, we play the tune again.
that's not for me. That's not my sort of thing. I like songs. I like that. That's what gets me out of bed in the morning. So anyway, I've just been, I've had a few discussions with it. It's come up recently, so I just vent on that sort of thing. But what were you were going to show me? Oh, then you finished on the Silver Sky.
Yeah. So like, look, to me, that black,
Oh, that's kind of a cool black.
That blue?
Yeah, I like that.
yeah, they're tasteful.
You know
they're
what?
not just stock colors.
That's nice to
but
see.
That looks
matte.
great.
It's looks like a matte guitar, but it doesn't look yuck. Like, you know, there's some of those Fender style matte guitars. They just feel like they look really yuck.
Yeah, man, and like all the PRS stuff I've played with a matte finish has been like a good matte finish, you know. And hey, look, we were talking about yucking people's yum. You know, I know there's people out there that hate the way PRS guitars look. They just think they're the ugliest thing ever. And they tell me about it all the time, and I'm like, good for you. You know,
Okay, just
I reckon they look sick.
Are these the real ones, or these aren't the SE versions? Hey, these are the actual.
No, these
SE.
are the cores. Yeah.
So there was I had someone in last night doing a session, or yesterday, and they had an SE, which SE John Mayer one, Silver Sky.
Yep.
And it's like, can you bring that picture up again?
I certainly can. Look at that.
Let me check something out, because yeah.
So for anyone listening, one's like a kind of faded black t-shirt, you know, it's a bit bleached out, and the other's, I think, an old Porsche color called Venetian blue.
Can you zoom into the headstocks?
Let's do that. Let's get right up
close.
You like that?
Like, even from that picture, I think that the color of those tuners looks fucked. Like, on this guitar, it looked exactly the same. They look like They look like the plastic on
off.
some Transformers that I had as a child. It's got the ones on this guitar felt cheap as well. I didn't understand it. You got like chrome hardware on the bridge and the jacks. Why, like, that matches the headstock? Why would you not do that? Is that the same?
You know what has great tuners? This is the DGT. Like, that looks sick.
That looks cool.
Know?
But man, even
like
if
the
you,
exposed gears.
if you want to do like, you know, if you want to do an SE version with just normal chrome ones, like, that would be cool. Like, or something. So okay, like if that was that's a more of a Les Paulish looking guitar, right? So have something that feels more Les Paul. Like, man, just use something that's a bit more Fendery. Like, just fucking make it chrome. Like, what are you doing? It looks.
We already know it's a Fender under a different name.
It looks so cheap, like really cheap, man. And it's a small thing, but it was a real turnoff. Like, I'm looking at this guitar and the color of it was really cool. Like, really like pinky purple sort of color. But yeah, just that was a massive turnoff. And because there's a cover over the truss rod, like a truss rod cover, and it had the same material. It just looked like cheap. It looked cheap and
which is
weird.
a shame. It's a shame they don't include the locking tuners on their SE models. Like, I would happily pay an extra $100 up front for the, you know, SE DGT to have locking tuners, rather than get the guitar, pay $100 for the tuners and put them on. Like, it's you know, it's a shame that they don't do that. It's like, it feels like if they came with locking tuners, that would just be the killer app.
I read something the other day about people hating on locking tuners. Were we talking about that? Or was that something else?
I mean, look, everyone's upset about everything, but I don't think we've talked about this. I'm all about it.
Yeah, I think locking tuners
just
are great.
learn to use them properly.
Yeah, like there's a whole thing. It was on probably a guitar. I keep getting suggestions for guitar Facebook groups now, which is a bit annoying.
Get out of here.
Yeah, and
I'm not interested.
They pop up, and I'm in like we'll talk about the Synergy thing in a second, but I'm in the MTS one, and that's interesting. I just read stuff. But everything else, I don't really give a shit. But I'll just get these suggested posts, man. And then there's locking tuners, they don't work, and no. It's like, they're great. Like, what are you complaining about? It just means when you change your strings, it's a little bit quicker. Like, it's not going to make your guitar like stay in tune that much better, but who cares? It's like a quicker string change.
When you use locking tuners, don't thread the string around like on a normal thing. You pull it through so that it's taut, and then you push it. So like you only have to, like, you don't have to wind it around
Yep.
the headstock. Like, I've been sent guitars from companies with locking tuners, and the guitars come out of the box like that. And it's like, why do you have this spec when you don't know how to use it? You know, it's just, it makes things fast. You know,
Yep.
I've had loads of times where it's like, I've got to the gig, sound checked, and been like, yeah, I probably should have changed my strings 20 minutes before we play. Heaps of time. Change the strings in 5 minutes, let them settle,
Yep.
do the first set. Bob's your auntie, mate. So
Bob's your
I'm going to give a
mother's
shout
brother.
out to the... Yeah, exactly, mate. I'm going to give a shout out to the Gear Forum, because this was the first place I could find this image without having to bring up our WhatsApp conversation, Troy. You know, I respect your privacy much in the same way that I respect my privacy
I
as
don't
well.
respect
but-
yours. If you want to find Leon, you can go to Quinn's Rocks. The address is... No, I'll leave it there.
Bada boom. Let's talk about this.
Yeah.
This was leaked, right? Like, Dave accidentally posted a photo,
Yep.
you know, on somewhere, but someone screenshot it.
Yeah, so
and
let's talk
look,
about what it is.
Can we do the Blade Runner? Yeah, someone actually wrote that on here, enhance. So this is probably their NAMM booth, right? And I mean, look, for one, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There's 8 Sin 2s in there, which is sick. I want that rack. But on top of it, it looks like a little bit of a lunchbox head, doesn't it?
A little bit of a lunchbox head with one space for a Synergy module. And so, okay, I can look over at my my Synergy Sin 30 head, which is over there. And also I can look over at my Synergy Sin 1 and my Sin 2. I've got a lot of Synergy equipment. In fact, let me talk about the Sin 2 for a second, Uncle Leon. Because what I notice is there's 4 knobs and a few switches on that image, and then a slot in the middle for a module, right? So probably the closest, the Sin 2 and the Sin 1 and Sin 2 each have 2 knobs on the front. One is for the output volume and one is for the sag control. So presumably that's what the ones on the right-hand side would be.
Yep.
So that means there's 2 knobs on the left, which, what do you reckon they're going to be for, mate?
Now, do you reckon it might just be a standalone clean channel?
Well, on my Sin 30, there's a standalone clean channel, and that is that's volume-based treble. So if it is a standalone clean channel, then it would be presumably like volume and a tone. However,
doable, but
do we think it's that, or do you think it's an IR sort of a thing?
this whole thing over here looks like there's some...
Oh, yeah.
There's some options. You know, I reckon that might be your IR section.
Okay.
This might be your
Or sag
in-out,
volume
but
sort of. Oh, yeah. And
again, look at this picture quality.
yeah, if you look at so on the left side where I thought might be IRs, it kind of looks like top left might be volume. It might say volume, and then
Yep.
underneath that might say sag, and that would make sense.
Yep.
That's how it's laid out on the
I mean,
Sin 2.
I mean, I'm sure it will come out in like, you know, a couple of days and, you know, we'll know, but it's kind of nice.
Yep.
Hopefully it comes out after we've released this podcast.
Well, we'll just get it out ASAP.
yeah.
We'll just scoop everybody. But that's kind
Exactly.
of interesting. What do you reckon? 20 watts?
Yeah,
15?
lunchbox, 15, 20.
Yeah.
It's kind of cool. Yeah, if it's, it looks small, you know, obviously you've got the Sin 2s there for context. The fact that there's hopefully a power amp in, well, you know, of course there'd be a power
Presumably
amp in
with
there,
that.
it'd just be a Sin 1.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I mean, the power
I'm sure
amp
a lot of
thing-
people get a lot of use out of
I'm
that.
curious as to what sort of power amp they do put in that. There isn't like an immediate thing that they can just take and repackage, right?
Maybe the Soldano Astro.
Oh, yeah.
Which is 20 watts, I think, 6v6.
Yeah,
which
that-
would be pretty cool. Or, you know, Friedman do like the Pink Taco and...
Yeah, but that's a bit more designed around like that circuit, or like
I guess
whichever
so.
one that is. But that's its own thing. Like like Synergy have the Sin 50 and they've got the Sin 30
Yep.
or the Sin 50. I mean, and then also I guess it's kind of like you've got the form factor of the Fryette stuff, which is, I don't know how these things work, but presumably like if you've got something like a thing, you can just shove this thing into that thing and then put it together. And
Yep.
so
The good old modular approach.
yeah, what I did notice about that picture is my Sin 30 is about, like, when I put it on the top of my rack, it's width of the rack. So that's
Yeah, right.
probably a good like half to 2/3 of the size of the Sin 30, which is pretty cool. I don't know. I think like 12 months ago, pre me getting a 30, I would have been really into it, because trying to find like getting a Sin 1's really awesome, but trying to find a power amp that matches up with it appropriately is a little tough. Like, I don't know if I mentioned it. Like, I did try the Pedal Baby a few weeks ago.
Yeah. How do you feel about the Pedal Baby, Troy?
I don't love it. I don't hate it. It's just not really the sort of... It didn't like blow my socks off. To be fair, nothing really sounds as good as a tube power amp. That's not news to anybody. But there is like, even with these Sin modules, it's okay. It sounded great when I was wearing headphones, and it was at a decent volume. I didn't really tell that much, but at like lower bedroom volumes when I'm just trying to play and practice, it had that like plasticky feel to it still, which I also got a similar, different, but a similar sensation from your Matrix power amp.
I know exactly what you mean.
Class
like,
D
it's
sort
good,
of thing.
but
I wasn't 100% certain, like, you know, the Class D versus a Class AB thing. It's not like I thought there'd be a night and day difference, but I thought it might feel a little bit better to play. And look, it probably does. It probably feels a little bit better. It still doesn't really come close to just bunging it through a power amp. Like, so the Friedman IRX, I played that through the Pedal Baby, and I played that through the effects return on the Sin 30. And through the Sin 30, it was amazing. Like, really, really amazing.
Yeah. No, it's a good module. I really like it through the 50/50 power amp.
Yep.
I like it because it's basically the BE Deluxe module, right?
It sounds
like, I like that a lot more than just the BE module.
Yeah. So it's interesting. I was going to say the IRX software. It's just really funny. It says Synergy at the bottom corner of it. You know, it's like, it's not
exactly.
subtle that this is coming. Like,
we know what's
everyone
coming.
knows what's happening. But you know, this new amp, man. Like, if it's a thing that it's it is a shame with the Sin 1. Like, you got a desktop module that is really great for that. It's a shame that it doesn't do a couple more things. This new amp probably looks like it'll be a little bit bigger than a Sin 1, and you got a power amp in it. Like, that's a really great solution for a lot of people. So I think that'll be really cool. I'd be interested to see how much it costs when it comes out.
Yeah, likewise.
I feel like the Sin 30 is Australian, like a bit over $2,000. I think I paid. I reckon I paid 22 for that plus the Bogner Ecstasy module. So, you know, if it's like $1,500, that's not a terrible deal, and it gets you in the Synergy sort of space, or the modular space, which is pretty cool. So, man, I'm really excited to learn a bit more about it. I wonder if
very interesting. Was there anything else that you saw that tickled your fancy?
Last thing I was going to say is, I wonder if on that rack of Sin 2s, I wonder if they're going to put any of that IRR stuff in that as well, or if something like that might. I didn't notice anything on the front panel, but I'm curious.
It would be foolish if they didn't at this stage, I reckon. It's sort of like, you know, so a few things that I thought were cool as well. Brandon Ellis. I don't know if you're familiar with Brandon Ellis.
Yeah,
Great
he plays
player.
for Gold Coast.
How have I never connected that? Of course,
ex-Richmond player,
another ex-Richmond player. No, Black Dahlia Murder, Brandon Ellis.
Oh yeah,
great player. Loves his crackle finish guitars.
That's right. I watched that video of him. Yeah,
Parallel Axis. Yeah, he seems like a cool dude. Like, but this is I'm on Music Radar, which feels very, very dirty that I'm bringing this up, but it was the first result that came up. Laney are doing these, like, you know, FRFR things, but they have a 4x12.
Oh yeah.
So you can see that on there. I think.
Wait, so it's an FRF4. That's a 4x12. It's what powered, and you just plug your thing into it.
Yeah. So they've already been doing LFRs. I think they've got a 1x12 and a 2x12. Like, I know Guthrie Govern's been using them. A lot of people have been turned on to them. Apparently they're really loud. And yeah, this is a 4x12 one. So developed with Devin Townsend. That's kind of cool.
Yeah, that's interesting. I saw that Laney have a plugin as well. Is that right? I feel like they just released a plugin.
So I think Aurora DSP have developed that one, and they've like the Ironheart as a plugin, which is kind of cool.
Now those,
and I think they've
no, go on. Sorry.
I think there's a Segway going in there. But yeah, have you ever tried an Ironheart?
No. Are those the
Neither
ones?
have I, but they seem cool.
They're like a 2-rack unit sort of looking thing, right?
Yeah, and they also make heads now as well.
That cabinet, that Laney 4x12, does that have LED strip around the inside of it? Or is it just lit in a special way? Because
I think it's just lit in a special way, yeah. But it should.
yeah, I don't know, man. I did hear good things about that Fender FRFR thing that came out, the Towmaster looking thing.
Yeah, so did I.
So I'd be interested.
And
to try
they
those.
kind of, it's like they're doing FRFRs that look like amps now. So, you don't have to explain to your mates who don't know anything. It's like, oh, well.
In that,
guess what?
In the Laney one, did it say what speakers it had in it?
It says, not on this article, but I'll look on the Laney website.
Because it said like
take a look.
It said like 2,600 watts, right? Did I see that? Like something stupid.
Which it's not 2,600 Marshall watts.
No,
you know what I mean?
Still, it's
still that's lots of headroom.
Yeah, that's probably peak. It's probably putting out. If before explosion point.
Okay, so USB connectivity allows players to load their own IRs into the thing, so you could kind of roll with it
That's
without.
actually really cool. That's a good idea.
Yeah, that'd be cool if you had like a load box and a real amp. You could just
or like
you don't need to take an IR loader.
The Power Cab, the Line 6 Power Cab, they've got the speaker IRs built into that, which I thought was really interesting. Because in theory, you could take a Syn 1 and bung it straight into that, and you've got a really flexible rig. I looked at that a little while ago. That looks like it's got LED around it. Look at it.
It does, doesn't it?
That's very clever.
Yeah.
Although so does the Kemper, so maybe it's just all lies. So yeah, the speakers. Does it have a weight on it? I'm really curious as to the weight. Because
what are the specs over here? Key features: 2,600 watts. You got the IR loading. You've got 1-inch Lavose DF10 horn in there.
Okay.
What are the actual speakers though? Plywood construction.
Well, I guess
universal voltage.
I think the weight is more indicative of what it would be. Because
where's the weight?
It's
tell me the weight.
4x12.
They're not telling me, which makes me think it's huge.
Yeah. Oh, there you go.
No, here we go.
42
kilos.
Just go. I'm gonna look at a Marshall 4x12, like a 1960B or something like that, and just see the weight of that. Because I don't actually know off the top of my head what that is. I feel like my head
36 kilos.
Oh man, I mean,
so it's heavier.
Can you look up
than a Marshall 4x12?
Look, can you look up a Messer oversized Recto cab and see how much that weighs?
Look at this in real time. We're using the internet. 48 kilos. So it's not as heavy as a Recto cab.
But pretty close, man.
In its defense, but that's still.
I mean, it's probably
that's a lot.
That's tricky, man. My Jens Benz like oversized ported cab was like death trying to get that up the stairs here. So if you're doing if you're doing those sort of gigs where you're taking a cab and you got to walk upstairs by yourself, like, man, doing that with a normal 4x12 is like the worst. But trying to do that every night is a bit of a bummer. So
we've just come full cycle. How good's modeling? It's convenient. You plug it straight into the PA. You use a small speaker or your in-ears and you get consistent tone. You don't have to cart things around. You're not going to give yourselves people go on about it like, oh, yeah, we did that back in the day. Just don't be a pussy. Also, I can't sit down for more than 5 minutes when I take a shit because I've got sciatica.
Yep.
So I'm always in a fucking bad mood. It's like, this shit isn't funny. It's like you fuck your back up.
Yep.
You can ruin your life, and it's like, cool. Your dick's way longer because you had to carry around like 2 Marshall 4x12s, but it doesn't make it better. It looks cool, but I mean, in Laney's defense, they make a 1x12 and a 2x12, so they already do that. But it's an interesting choice that I'd figure if someone still wants 4x12s, they're probably just going to get a really loud power amp and some 4x12s and do it.
Yep.
But it's another option.
Man, yeah, that's beastly. Like some of these things, if you have roadies to cart this stuff around, like someone who's employed, like, cause man, I did that for years. Like I did PAs and stuff, and that's your job.
Good fun.
Yeah. You get paid a certain amount of money, and like, unfortunately that's just part of the gig. Like we used to lift 120 kilo, 120, 115 kilo speakers, like every week, maybe not every day, but like several times a week, and loading trucks, and it's a pain in the ass, but that's just the job. And in reality, like, these speakers are less than that, so that's kind of okay. But for some of the stuff, when you're like, you know, you're going to your rehearsal and then you're going to your like once a month gig, like, man, or like even once a week gig, that's a lot to carry around. You got to get the right car for this stuff too, because man, you got to have at least a boot that's going to fit a fucking like speaker cabinet in it. This stuff's like, yeah, it's a solution for certain people. It's not a solution for me at the moment, unfortunately.
The turning point in my life was buying a car that couldn't fit a 4x12.
Oh man, that's
when I knew I'd sailed into the horizon, like Poochie the dog, never to return.
And I remember I did that 10 years ago, man. And then you thankfully did have a station wagon for long enough, and I made plenty of use out of that. So yeah, it's just like, story is, everybody get a small car and then no one asks you to move stuff. So Uncle Jay, he's going to come and pick up a rack and drop it at your house, or we're going to come up to your house and drop it off at some point. So sorry, Jay, he's listening to this.
And that'll be a good time.
Yeah.
I'll put the sausage rolls in the microwave.
Do you know my great grandma, I reckon 22 years ago, this was one of the signs when she needed to go to a home. This is really sad actually to say it like that. But she said to my granddad, because we were living together in the same house, she said, "Oh, you know, do you want a sausage roll? I'll make you a sausage roll." And he said, "Oh, okay, no worries." Like 20 minutes go by and they're wondering, he's like, "Well, I wonder where this sausage roll is." And she brings it out and it was like black. She said, "What did you do to this sausage roll?" And she said, "Oh, I just put it in the microwave for 20 minutes, you know, just warm it up for you." 20 minutes in the microwave.
Have you heard the story of, you know, my dad's infamous for his consumption of black coffee, that he gets my mum to make in bulk, and he keeps it in the fridge and reheats it in the microwave whenever he wants coffee, which is about 17 times a day. And my mate Aaron was over, and, you know, this was like when we were 15 or 16, and, you know, my dad gets his coffee, pours it in the cup, goes up to the microwave, closes the thing, kind of squints at it, like presses something on the number pad, hits start, and it goes ding. And he just looks at it, glances at us, and he's like, so he'd obviously gone, "I want to heat it up for a minute." How do you do that? You just press 1.
It just lives with it. Oh yeah, that's fine.
I like to think that he just pulled it out. I can't remember, but he probably just pulled it out and was like, you know, muttering under his breath, like, "Stupid microwave. Can only do 1 second at a time."
I just love that, man. Like, people like your dad, being as like clever as he is, just there's things he can't do. There's like, you know, so all the brain is dedicated to maths and guitar, and then like he has this much to just like, I don't know. When's the last time he did the dishes, do you think?
Probably when he was about 12. And then, you know, did it as a favor for his parent. Like, he tells a story where it's like, you know, his mum was a clean freak and, you know, would work. And so they came home from school, him and his 2 siblings, and they decided to do the dishes and, you know, clean up for mum, do the nice thing. She got home and silently just looked at everything, was like, pulled everything out again and re-washed it herself. So absolute psycho, you know, the golden age of parenting, right there. But yeah, that's probably the last time he did that. He's an outdoor dog. He's not an indoor dog. You know. Yeah. He's not domestically trained. You know, you put him out in the yard, and, you know, he'll herd the sheep, and he's a guard dog, and, you know, he kills rats and things like that. But he just doesn't go in the house. You know, that's fine. You know, I'm more an indoor dog myself, where it's like I look out the window like, "Oh wow, cars going by. That's interesting." And I think I'll go back to, like, you know, doing whatever indoor dogs do. I'm an indoor dog. Or like our cats, which are indoor cats. They literally have a cat run, and, you know, they don't roam free, murdering the rare Australian wildlife like the other cats. But mate, I think that has been a very, very nice overview of what's been going on. Hopefully on the next episode or 2, I'll actually show off my CE24, and I look forward to seeing that Explorer on the top of Perth Stadium very soon. So me too. If people aren't aware, Troy is... I've been waiting to say this, mate. They stole your idea. I was watching the Big Bash, and there's a guy as the Sydney Thunder run out. He's playing like a white Les Paul Custom, just playing some licks. It sounded really good. Like he's obviously having a good time.
I had
but he's not on the
people-
roof.
Yeah, I had multiple people send that to me. So, good luck. Good on you. It's not my idea. It was Fremantle's idea that they asked me to do it. But
Mate.
I'm not going to take credit for it. I actually did get asked about maybe a year or two ago if I should be on the field, like running out. And
Did you say no?
I don't think I said no, but I don't remember how the conversation went, but I think I said something like it was more... You know what it was? I reckon I said that I didn't want to get in the way and take focus at that point when the team's running out, because that should be the moment, is like everyone's cheering for like Nat Fife to come out and... Yeah, like who's this guy running around? Like that's...
Mate, you do it once and Fifey would be like, it's put me off my game.
Yeah, it's good to like separate it, I think. So I'm on the top of the stadium. Hopefully, I've spoken about it too much, and that'll jinx it, and I won't get the gig again this year. That's what'll happen.
Who do you reckon the best guitar player is in the AFL at the moment?
Well,
there'd be
Cheesel's
someone.
gone, and Nick Nat's not in there anymore. So I don't know. Do you reckon Josh Dacos has an acoustic guitar in the corner of his room that he strums?
Yeah, Josh should be the one with the cooey, not Nick.
Oi, like, did I tell you? So I caught up. Well, yeah, with Uncle Jay a couple of weeks ago. He and Darren, and they're like they had just been to a cafe in Fremantle, and then I was catching up with them for lunch, and they're like, "Oi, who's this guy?" And they showed me a picture, and I'm like, looking at him, like, they were like, "He's a footy player. We can't think of who he is." And they showed me. Did I tell you this?
No.
Oh, okay. They showed me this picture. I'm looking at him, like, that kind of... They said, it's that, like, big, like, lurch-looking guy. And I was like, oh, Rory Lobb? Like, is that who you're talking about? And it's like, no, that's not him. They showed me the picture. I'm like, I can't pick it. I'm going through the Eagles and Dockers list. Can't work it out. Anyway, like, 20 minutes go by, Jade, I think, sent it to his wife. He's like, I don't know who it is. And then all of a sudden it comes through and it's like, it's Darcy Moore, like captain of Collingwood.
There you go.
He's just hanging out in Fremantle, getting a coffee and it's probably a cinnamon scroll at North Street Bakery or whatever that place is called. But you just don't think that the captain of Collingwood's just hanging out in WA. So there you go. Premiership captain.
What are you doing here, Das?
Yeah, I don't know. I went on...
No, I'm just being a really nice guy. I'm also an excellent guitar player.
Yeah, he probably could shred, hey. He'd...
Yeah, if someone was going to be a hell good guitar player in the AFL, it'd be Darcy Moore.
He was head boy, and he probably he looks like he's a head boy. See, Oscar Allen looks like he was head boy, but also just can't play music. But
yeah, he's more the type of guy who is head boy, but like bullied the music students. That's just every Eagles player, though. You just look at them and go, "Yeah, you bullied kids." That's the West Coast Eagles mantra.
Yep.
I say this as an Eagles fan as well, but it's got hell private school boys club energy, like just about every football team.
They all have.
But
yeah.
You work for Fremantle, and some people actually like working there, which is kind of cool to know.
Yeah, they're a great club to work for, man. They've always been like super cool to me. I've got like nothing bad to say about them. That whole experience has made me a Fremantle fan. So, yeah.
There you go. And with that note, with that shameful note, we're going to sign off from today's episode of the Gear Podcast. Thanks for tuning in. Let us know your favorite new gear announcements, or if you've lasted more than 10 days in 2024 without buying a guitar. And we'll see you all next week.
Peace.